Back at the NBA draft, the Lakers made an interesting, and at the time a widely unapproved choice by taking Adou Thiero, not to mention trading up to get him, trading all the way down from 55th down to 36th to take Adou Thiero, which again at the time was not well liked and not approved by the fanbase, but I think fans have really come around on him, going from it being a bad pick now to it being a pretty good pick. Now I think the fact that they lost Dorian Finney-Smith helped with that. A week later, they lost Dorian Finney-Smith in free agency, one of their only big forwards in their rotation. Drafting Adou Thiero helped fill the void of that, and likely helped make the fans feel better about losing Finney-Smith. Then adding Jake LaRavia with it, that even helped more with it. But even apart from that, and what fans have come to know about Adou Thiero, does hold a lot of upside and has made fans pretty optimistic with him. So with that in mind here, we're going to talk about Adou Thiero from a short-term and long-term perspective, why the Lakers drafted him, what they're hoping if anything from him this season, from a long-term outlook, and what he might be able to offer their rotation as maybe an injury replacement, or if he is able to impress JJ Redick and potentially climb into their rotation. We're going to talk about that and try to break it all down here. And well, to begin, I think if we're talking about the easiest pathway for him to crack the rotation, and likely why they drafted him and kind of have him behind guys like Jared Vanderbilt, Jake LaRavia, Rui Hachimura, and so on and so forth, would be as an injury replacement. I mean, talking about a lot of the guys I just mentioned, many of them have and really have dealt with injuries for quite some time now. Vanderbilt only playing 36 games last year, not to mention has only played roughly 50 in the past 2 years now. Marcus Smart, the same goes for him, only playing 34 last season, only playing 20 during the 23-24 NBA season, only a grand total of 54 in the past 4 years now. Even a guy like Jake LaRavia, yes, he played nearly 70 last season, but only played 35 in his first and second year in the NBA. And even for a guy like Rui Hachimura, only played 59 games last season, missing 23 of them, and regularly does miss about 20 to 30 games every year now. That's likely a big part of why they drafted Adou Thiero. Even apart from the loss of Dorian Finney-Smith and them likely predicting that would happen, kind of to be as an injury replacement and potentially fill the void of Vanderbilt, Smart, LaRavia, and or Hachimura when they get hurt. So in my opinion, purely from that standpoint, it was some pretty good injury assurance. And while at this point, I definitely would put Adou Thiero behind those guys, putting him behind Jake LaRavia, Jared Vanderbilt, Marcus Smart, and Rui Hachimura, there might be a pathway for him to eventually get playing time. No, maybe not overtake them in their rotation, but maybe on a matchup dependent basis, or potentially again when they get hurt, he probably will find his way onto the court. And in my opinion, a big part of that could be his defensive playmaking ability. During his third and final year of college, Adou Thiero averaged 1.6 steals per game and only 27.5 minutes per game. Translating that to per 36 minutes, that's over 2 of them per 36. If you want to talk about it from an advanced stats standpoint, averaging a 3.4% steal rate last season, not to mention having one of 3% from a block rate standpoint as well. So he definitely can be a defensive playmaker on the court, get in passing lanes, take on tough one-on-one matchups, get deflections, and simply create turnovers for your team. That's something that he can offer that not many other guys in their team can offer. Yes, Jared Vanderbilt and then with the addition of Marcus Smart, those are really the two other guys that can offer it, but again, if they're hurt or simply not playing up to standard, and not what they have shown in years past, then there might be a pathway for Adou Thiero. After all, the Lakers were not a good defensive playmaking team last season, especially not before Jared Vanderbilt came back from injury, and before they got Luka Doncic and Dorian Finney-Smith. Overall, the Lakers rated 22nd in steals per game last season, averaging 7.7 of them per game, ranking in the bottom half, and at times that was a big weakness of their team, again especially prior to getting Vanderbilt back, prior to trading for Luka Doncic and or Dorian Finney-Smith. I mean, before that point, they were in the bottom 5 in the entire NBA in steals per game, averaging only 7.3 of them per game, and that's obviously not very good. If you're not creating turnovers, then on top of that are not a great defensive rebounding team, not a great rebounding team in general, not a top 10 disciplined defense, then you gotta create turnovers to kind of make up for that, which at that point, they were not able to do. So if they can't get that version of Jared Vanderbilt back, can't get that version of Marcus Smart, and even if those two can't stay on the court, then they definitely have a pretty big defensive playmaking need. As apart from those two, they don't really have a great defensive playmaker. I mean, Luka's not bad, definitely can and will jump the occasional passing lane. LeBron's okay at it, despite him now being 40 going on 41. Laravia is an above average defensive playmaker, but apart from Smart and Vanderbilt, don't really have a combination of a defensive playmaker and an above average defender all in one. So apart from those two, and if they can replicate what they have been able to do, or simply stay healthy, then that could be a pathway for Adou Thiero. Enter him, who is an elite athlete, a guy that was a great defender in college, a great defensive playmaker in college, not a guy that I'm worried about with the athletic jump to the NBA. Even for NBA standards, he's still an elite athlete in my opinion, sporting a 40-inch vertical, a great wingspan to go with it, a guy that truly can match up 1 through 4 on the court, yes, I think even at the NBA level. That's something that he will be able to offer from day one. Really no worry about his defensive ability, defensive playmaking ability, or the athletic ability with him, not to mention even the physicality. Does have a pretty well-built frame even for a rookie. I'm not worried about that with Adou Thiero. So if it would come down to it, and again primarily from an injury replacement, I think that's why they like Adou Thiero even as a rookie. And yes, while I would be a bit concerned with his 3-point shooting, after all, he was only a 28.4% 3-point shooter in college. That's not something that has stopped JJ Redick before, with players on the court and especially with good defensive options. I mean, obviously with Jared Vanderbilt, didn't have a career high minutes per game last season or anything, but did get a pretty quality amount of 16.1 per game with JJ Redick. Probably would have been even more if he was a slightly better 3-point shooter, or even a slightly better offensive player in general, which in my opinion, Adou Thiero does have the ability to do. Whether you're talking about the 28% from 3-point line that Vanderbilt shot last season, Adou Thiero can do that in my opinion, or if you're talking about offense and apart from 3-point shooting, I think Adou Thiero actually has a lot more ability than Jared Vanderbilt currently does. Whether you're talking about on-ball creation ability, Adou Thiero is a better ball handler than Vanderbilt in my opinion, is a bit more athletic, is a bit more explosive, and better at taking guys off the dribble, getting to the rim and applying rim penetration. I think that's something that he is better at compared to even the current version of Jared Vanderbilt. Or then pointing to a guy like Jordan Goodwin, for example. At one time he got playing time as a 2-way contract, then being elevated from a 2-way contract up to their 15-man roster spot, despite not being a great 3-point shooter historically. I mean, prior to joining their team last season, he had never shot above 32% from 3. And yet, after joining their team and only being known as a defensive option, he shot pretty darn well from the 3-point line, shooting 38.2% with their team last season. You know, that's kind of the power of playing with Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and Austin Reeves in the court. The attention they drew away from him, what that could do for a guy like Adou Thiero, for example, if he's able to get more comfortable from the corner. I mean, that's pretty much what Jordan Goodwin did for their team, taking roughly 50% of his 3-point shots from the corner, of which he knocked down 42%. I mean, they're gonna be wide open, playing with Luka, LeBron, and Austin. They're gonna find him wide open, especially if he's standing in that corner. Or even apart from that, becoming a good baseline cutter. Yes, he'll probably have to stand in the corner, but if he times it right and knows the timing and when to make the backdoor cuts, he can learn to be a pretty good backdoor cutter, and even playing in the dunker spot too. So no, while I don't expect him to be a rotation player for their team, not going to be in there every game, but if it came down to it and somebody gets hurt like Jared Vanderbilt, Marcus Smart, and or Jake Laravia, I don't think that JJ Redick would hesitate to give Adou Thiero a shot. You know, again, he's shown it with Jared Vanderbilt, Jordan Goodwin, guys that are not 3-point shooters, but get kind of a boost from playing with Luka, LeBron, and Austin, then being able to take advantage of what they can do defensively, their defensive playmaking ability. I think JJ Redick would put Adou Thiero on the court if it came down to it, and he would not hesitate to do it. I mean, it might even be a Jordan Goodwin situation too. At that point, he might overachieve offensively from what we expect, then being able to take advantage of him defensively. That's something that Adou Thiero might be able to do, and I'm actually fairly optimistic with it too. I mean, if we are talking about a one-and-done 18 or 19-year-old freshman here, then I definitely would be a bit more hesitant with him. But that's not the case here with Adou Thiero. Did spend 3 years at college, playing all 3 years at a high-level D1 college, first playing for Kentucky, then transferring to Arkansas, and pretty much every year showed improvement. Yes, again, the 3-point shooting didn't quite come with it, but you know, despite that, has really showed his game in every area on the court. Whether you're talking about scoring ability, on-ball ability, backdoor cutting, defensive ability, defensive playmaking ability, heck, even rebounding ability, able to defend 1 through 4 on the court, can even play 2 through 4 on the court if the 3-point shot is falling or in a certain offensive scheme. I'm actually fairly confident with Adou Thiero. I like the background they showed, I like everything they showed apart from 3-point shooting. So I think that JJ Redick is actually fairly confident in him, and is very eager to learn what he can actually show more on the court and what he might be able to get more out of him compared to what he showed at the college level. And no, don't get me wrong here, we're definitely talking about this from a long-term perspective too. I think he would be confident in Adou Thiero to try him out this season, again primarily as an injury replacement, or maybe he shows so much in practice and throughout training camp that he gives him a little bit of a shot. But again, we're talking about this from a long-term perspective, slowly but surely easing him into it, not completely throwing him into the fire and destroying his confidence if he doesn't show much out there and isn't able to get much going on the court. I think he'll try him out and wouldn't be completely hesitant to do it, but we're talking about this more from a 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 year perspective, not simply from this season alone. No, he won't be a bust if he can't show immediate production, isn't a bust if he can't get a 3-point shot, isn't a bust if he needs to learn the speed and physicality of the NBA a little bit before becoming completely accustomed to it. Give the guy some time here too. I think there might be a pathway for him. I think there might be a situation where he can be valuable for them and possibly could be a back-end rotation player for them, but don't expect it to come all at once, and I don't think that JJ Redick will be either. Overall here though, I do like the addition of Adou Thiero. I think it made plenty of sense for their team to draft him, especially knowing that they probably would lose Dorian Finney-Smith. Then with the combination of Jared Vanderbilt not being very durable, Rui Hachimura not being that durable, even knowing that Jake LaRavia is on their radar, him not being that durable, then even adding Marcus Smart who also is a bit injury prone, I think it made plenty of sense from that perspective. Even from a longer term perspective, if they don't bring back Marcus Smart, if Jake LaRavia doesn't work out for them, if Jared Vanderbilt eventually gets traded or, gets hurt again unfortunately, then this would definitely be a really good thing for Adou Thiero, him having more of a pathway for them, him actually being able to fill that void for them, and being able to go into something much more than he currently is. I really like the outlook here with Adou Thiero, and the Lakers scouting department clearly saw that in him too. But with all of that being said, what do you guys think? How do you feel about Lakers rookie Adou Thiero from both a short-term and a long-term perspective? How do you feel about the Lakers drafting him, what they might be able to get from him and potentially even this season? And how do you feel about him from a long-term perspective too, potentially many years down the road, and how long it might take him for him to reach his potential, if ever? Let me know your thoughts and your expectations for Adou Thiero in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one, and if you enjoyed the video, then I would greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.